So let me walk you through the agenda for today's session. So we'll be talking about configlets and how we can use configlets efficiently. We'll also be talking about how different compliance values add value to our industry and how you can use NCM to stay compliant with internal and industrial standards. We'll also be talking about role-based access control, where you can control what your network admins um, make changes, what kind of changes your network administrator does, and so on. And then we'll be talking about schedules. So I'll help you with scheduling different configuration activities, and then we have reports, integrations, and configuration search. So what are configlets? Configlets are executable script templates, and when they are applied to devices, they will execute the commands in a sequence. So we use configlets while we need to fix faulty devices in our network. And you can also use configlets if there are malfunctioning devices and if you don't want to log into a telnet or putty every time you want to make a change. So in that case, you can just use configlets. Also, you can execute changes in other network operations in the devices. In NCM, we have default commands for several operations. You can also add a configlet based on whatever your personal requirements are. So how do you add a configlet? So we have three modes which you can use for adding configlets. One is script execution mode. The other one is file transfer mode. And we also have advanced script execution mode. So these modes are based on how the commands are executed in the device. So let me help you with script execution mode. Um, so script execution mode is where you push a configlet to multiple devices at one go. So the command gets executed in a particular sequence. You can use script execution mode if you want to enable or disable SNMP, or if you want to upload or download a firmware image. So yeah, here you can see that to identify commands, you can use this. On the left-hand side, you have the commands that will be executed manually on a telnet or a putty. And on the right-hand side, you can see the commands that will be present in a configlet. So if you are creating commands using script execution mode, this is how you will have to identify commands so that it'll be easy for you while executing it on NCM. So whatever commands you enter using telnet will be the same, and there won't be much of a difference. So let me show this to you in the UI for your better understanding. This is the UI of Network Configuration Manager, and if you had attended the part 1 session, you would be familiar with the UI. And also, yeah, to go to Configlets, click on Config Automation and click on Configlets. So we have so many CLI configlets listed here. So I'll show you an example for script execution mode. Okay, here's an example for script execution mode. And in case you want to create a configlet from scratch, click on the plus symbol you can see here. But since I'm going to show you an example, I'm just clicking one of the existing configlets we have in NCM's UI. So this is disabling change detection. And for this, we are using script execution mode. So from the dropdown, you can select the vendor, provide a description if necessary. And if you have tags, you can associate, otherwise it's fine. So this is where your configlet content will come. So in this box, you can paste your configlet content or you can type it out. See. So once this is done, you can either check this box in case you want to take a backup of configurations after the template execution. Otherwise, it's fine. So click on Save. So how do you execute a configlet? So here you can see the execute option. So click on Execute, and you can provide, uh, associate a template if you have one already, or if it's a different value for each device, you can upload a CLI file. Also, if it's the same value, you can just check this box and click on the devices you want to associate this configlet to. So here you can select device groups or single device. So whatever device you select from the available devices to the selected devices, and if you click on execute, the configlet for script execution for real-time change detection disabling will be enabled on these selected devices. So yeah, so to create a configlet, click on plus symbol from scratch, that is, and you can provide everything from scratch. So that's all about script execution mode. Let's move on to advanced script execution mode. So when you execute a command in Telnet or a PuTTY, and if the command prompts a user confirmation or a user input, or if there is a change in prompt when a command gets executed, or when there's a delay in response after a particular command is executed, then you can use advanced script execution mode. So here you can see that the prompt has been changed after a particular command has been executed. So in the configlet, we say execute this particular command after you see this particular prompt. Similarly, they've also given a command timeout. So here you can see the timeout. Sorry, okay. So here you can also, like, sometimes there'll be a command timeout, which means you'll have to wait for a particular time after a configlet gets executed. So for your better understanding, I will take you to the UI of the configuration manager. So for those of you who are joining just now, let me tell you that you will receive the video recording along with the presentation. So don't worry about the missed session. So yeah, we were talking about config and we're done with script execution mode. We're talking about advanced script execution mode. So I'll show you an example for advanced script execution mode. Okay, so we'll use this example where we will be changing password for HP devices. So this is an advanced script execution mode. And here you can see that you can change password for all the HP switches. So this is where the configlet content will appear. And once you click on save, it'll be saved. So you can also edit this command anytime, at any point of time. You can go and edit it according to your requirements. So if you want to execute it, click on execute. Just like script execution mode, there won't be much of a difference except for what you put in the command box. So here's the password you want to type for all the HP switches. If the password is same, you can use same value for all devices and give the password here. If you have to provide a different password for each of the HP switches, then you can click on this and you can import a flat file. So yeah, that is that. And once you click on execute, this particular command will be executed and the password will be changed for all the HP switches. So that's all about advanced script execution mode. The associating devices to advanced script execution mode is similar to script execution mode. Either you can select a group of devices from the drop-down or choose the devices from available devices and click on selected devices and click on execute. So yeah, let's move on to file transfer mode. So file transfer mode is especially very useful if you want to upload a particular file to multiple devices at one go. So this is the major example for file transfer mode. So here you go. You can search for the configlet by typing out on the search file here. Here's an example where you can upload a configuration file to multiple devices using the file transfer mode as your execution mode. So here you can select a vendor and you can paste the configlet, the configuration content. The entire configuration can be placed here and you can click on save. And to execute it, just click on execute and you can provide a configlet name. So you can click on the configlet name, execution mode, and vendor, and you can associate the device groups to which you want to push this configlet and click on execute. So we also have REST configures introduced to some of our firewall models like FortiGate, Palo Alto, etc. And under CLI configures history, you'll be able to see the the history of how the configures have performed after you executing it. So here you can see the status of the execution, whether it has been a successful one or if it has been a failure. And you can also download a PDF copy of this particular configlet execution history. So similarly for REST configures, we have an execution history set, and here you can see that something has happened here and some interruption has happened, and some of the executions have been complete. Moving on to compliance. In compliance, we'll see why compliance is very important. And also, it's important that if you stay compliant to industry standards, then you'll be free from vulnerabilities and loopholes. So, the default compliance policies available in NCM are Cisco iOS, HIPAA, SOX, PCI. You can also create your own compliance policies. So, in order to create custom policies, you have to create rules and then you have to regroup the rules into a rule group. And then, if you want to like have only one rule group in the policy, you can just execute it as a policy. But if you have multiple rule groups, then you can club them into policies. So it'll be clear if I like show it to you on show all of these to you in the UI. So click on compliance. So these are the default policies present in NCM. And you can see the status of the compliance in your network environment. So click on compliance and click on rules. So here you can see different rules, right? So let me tell you what the three types of rules are. So here's one, which is simple criteria. Simple criteria is used when you only have a condition to define whether a particular rule should have or shouldn't have a particular string or an exact set. You can also determine how many number of times a particular string can be present in a configuration file. For example, we have an example here where if you don't want these two lines to be present in your configuration, then you can just give those lines and check if these lines are present or not. So if these lines are present while doing a compliance check, then it is a violation, and NCM will let you know that there has been a violation. So while checking if NCM does not come across these two lines against or in any of the configurations, it means you are compliant and you don't have to uh, give a remediation for that. So let me show this to you in the UI. So I'll show you an example for the simple criteria we just saw now. So click on the plus symbol to add a rule from scratch and click on the criteria. And here you can provide what you want to provide. And then in this box, you can provide the compliance rule. So I'll show you an example, which will be better. Here's an example where you don't want this particular line to be present in your network. So in that case, you just have to provide that line here, and you can select if it should contain or should not contain, or if it should be an exact set or not an exact set. And you can choose the number of times you don't want this line to appear. It can be any, starting from any, it can go on to 50. So once you provide that, click on next. And here you can provide a description if necessary, and you can provide a violation severity. So you can mention it to be critical, major, or a warning according to how severe the particular compliance violation would be. And here's a remediation description. And if there are remediation conflicts, you can associate it with this particular rule. So I'll talk to you about remediation conflict shortly. So once that is done, click on save. So to associate this particular rule to devices, uh, I'll tell you about how you can associate once I explain the other criteria. So we also have advanced criteria. When you only want to check certain parts of a configuration file of a device, you use advanced criteria. So, I mean, sorry, this advanced criteria gives you an option of having more than one condition. So this is very useful when you want to search a string that has a variable. So for searching this variable, you can use regular expressions. So in Network Configuration Manager, we have common regular expression commands. You can check it out, and we'll be sending the recording along with the presentation. So once you receive the presentation, you can check out the links given in the presentation. So I'll show you an example for this. So here's an example for advanced criteria, and you are providing a pattern here because you're not sure of what it would be, right? The you're just like checking if enable secret has been configured or not. So you can provide the condition here, and then you can click on plus symbol to add more conditions. So click on next, and in the same way you executed a simple criteria, you just have to execute the advanced criteria as well. So providing the violation severity, and by clicking on save. So moving on to the next, we have advanced custom criteria. So this is where you can use this when you only want to check certain parts of a configuration file of a new network device. For example, when you want to check the interfaces of a particular router, typically a router will have several interfaces in it, and the speed of the router has to be set for it to work well. If the speed is not set, then it's going to be fluctuating. For this reason, you can define certain blocks in a configuration file so that when NCM runs a compliance check, it will check only the blocks that are defined. So I'll show this to you in the UI. So here on the screen, you can see that you have an example here. So you can identify the block start as shutdown and the block end. Here you can identify that the block start as the exclamatory mark, and you don't want the word shutdown to be, you don't want to test certain interfaces which are already shut down. In that case, you can just specify this particular word. So while searching for it, NCM will ignore the compliance check on configurations which already are shut down. So this is a combination of both the simple and advanced criteria. Here's an example for advanced custom criteria, and you're giving the configuration block start as interface and block end as exclamatory, and you are giving the additional block criteria as it should not contain the word shutdown. You can also give should contain condition. So you can provide the speed, the pattern to be speed, and if you want more than one line to be added, you can click on the plus symbol. Otherwise, you can just click on the into mark. And here you can provide the critical major warning associated with a remediation conflict and click on save. So we saw a few examples for how compliance works. So how do you associate these rules into rule groups? So for that, it's very easy. You just have to click on this, and here you'll be able to see that you just click on the rules you want to associate to a particular rule group and click on the three line icon and give associate to rule group option. So these roles will be present on this side, and here you can see the available rule groups, right? So these rules can be associated into rule groups, and you can select to which all rule groups these rules should go to. So I'm selecting two rule groups, so these rules will be associated to these two rule groups. Click on save. So these are the rule groups, and if you want to associate rule groups into policies, select the rule groups, click on the three line icon and give associate to policies. So similar to rule groups association, this can be done. Here are the available policies. So select the policies on which you want to apply these rule groups to and click on save. Here are the policies. So you can create a policy from scratch by providing the policy name. Here I'm going to give test configuration type as running, and I'm going to give the policy violation criteria as any rule is violated. And I'm associating rule groups to this policy. Click on next. And here you can apply the policies to the devices present. If you want to apply it to device groups, you can choose the device groups. Otherwise, if you want to apply these policies to individual devices, you can click the devices from under available devices and select those devices and click on save. Once you click on save, whatever policy we created will be associated and the compliance check will happen to the devices we just added. So I told you that I'll be telling you about remediation conflict, right? So in case there is a violation, so here you can see that there has been a violation. So click on that and you can see if you have already associated remediation template, you can just execute that particular remediation conflict. And once you click on execute, the violation can be temporarily averted because of the remediation conflict. And this can be done by anybody. So all you have to do is go to the policy, click on it, see if there is a violation, click on the violation, and here's a violation you can see. And and if that is a remediation template already, you can just click on it and execute it. So we have compliance reports which will be very useful for you. You'll be able to understand how many devices have violations and how many devices are compliant and how many devices are not compliant. So here you can see the devices which have been violated. And if you click on this triangle symbol here, you can see how many policies have been associated to that particular device or a vendor or a group. From here, you can see exactly the number of devices which are compliant for HIPAA policy here. And here you can see what rule names, the rule names, the remediation description, etc. All this you can go and check under compliance report. So moving on to role-based access control. What is role-based access control? So this is one of my most favorite features in NCM. So let's say in an infrastructure, you will have several network admins and you will have only a set of scope defined to each of these admins. Let's say you have an operator in your network environment and this operator tries to make a change in the network device that's very critical for your infrastructure. Then the network admin will receive a notification about the change and he can choose to approve or reject this particular change. Once the approval or rejection is made, the operator will receive a notification whether the change he made is approved or if it has been rejected. This change made by the operator will not get uploaded until the admin approves or rejects it. So, what is the significance of RBAC? What is important about this particular thing? This particular act control will give you a complete control on who can make what kind of change, and this will make your network secure. So in NCM, you have RBAC in two ways. One is with user management, in which you give the scope to the user, and this is done using user authentication where local AD and radius will be used. Also, you can have approval notification in real time. So go to settings, click on user management, click on users. Here you can see all the users who will be present in your network environment. So I'm going to create a special password and everything for a new user I'm going to be adding now. So you can provide a photo. So I'm going to make him an operator using the user type as local authentication. I'm going to provide a username, email ID, password, and phone number if necessary, and time zone. Click on next, and here you can provide the scope. You can either select a particular device or you can select a device group. So I'm just going to give him all devices group and click on save. Okay, since this username already exists, you will have to change the username. So let me give. Okay, so this user will be added successfully. So I have logged in as an administrator here. So I'm going to log in as an operator from the other so that I can make changes. So I'm going to enter the username, Julius, password, and click on login. So local authentication should be given. So otherwise, it'll appear as incorrect password. So here I have logged in as the administrator because I gave him the administrator permission the second time I created. So yeah, so he's an admin now, and he's gonna try to attempt and make a change here. So select a device, and here you can make a change by editing the draft as and just making a change for an example. And here I'm gonna give say an upload. So you can select the type of configuration if you want to upload it now or to schedule it and click on upload. So draft upload will be triggered successfully because I was given admin permission, right? So if you change the permission to operator, he'll not be able to upload it directly. So for example, I'm going to click on this particular user I created now, and I'm going to change his permission to operator. And I'm going to give next, and I'm going to give him all device group and click on save. So I have made Julius into an operator. So let's see what he can do now. So this is Julius's UI. So this is Julius, and he will be an operator now. So now he's gonna try to make a change to your network device, and clicking on the draft, making a change here, draft name, annotation, and clicking on save and upload. Configuration will be successfully saved, but when he tries to click on upload, you will get a message saying upload request sent to administrator, because Julius is not an administrator, he is an operator. His power has been changed to an operator from an administrator, hence he's not able to make a change. So the administrator will receive a notification that Julius has attempted to make a change. So you can also go and check it from change notifications. And here you can see the upload request. So here you can see that Julius has attempted a particular change, and here you can see what change he has made. So he has modified something here. So you can click on it and see exactly what kind of change Julius has made. So on the LHS, you can see the normal configuration, and on the RHS, you can see what kind of change this particular operator has made. So, and in the under pending request, here you can just go to Configlet automation, change notification, and under upload request, you'll be able to see the pending request. And you just saw what kind of change he has made, but you're not happy with the change. You're just saying that no, it is not needed. Just give him an explanation and click on the reject button. So the reject request will be sent to Julius, and I'm going to log in as Julius now. And I'll see that Renuka7537 has rejected my request. So Julius cannot upload that particular draft because he's an operator and the administrator has already rejected his request. So we have tools in Network Configuration Manager, so that you can see by going to the UI. So under tools, you can see there are different tools for tracing address, such as ping tools, terminal, SNMP tools, and workflow. So workflow, we've newly added workflow. So to create a new workflow, click on the new workflow option, and you can just drag and drop whatever you want here. So for example, if there is an alarm with ringing, and if you want to, you know, execute a particular thing when an alarm rings, you can just, set it up by dragging and dropping it here. So for the late joinees, I'm just letting you know once more that this particular presentation along with the recording will be sent to you in 2 or 3 days. And then we have schedules. So NCM provides scheduling options for a lot of tasks. So I'm going to show you how to go to schedules. Click on config automation and click on schedules. Here you can see all the schedules present in Network Configuration Manager. If you want to schedule a task from scratch, click on the plus symbol, and you can provide a schedule name, give a schedule type. So we have different schedules for various configuration activities like configuration backup, report generation, compliance check, etc. So I'm just going to give a schedule for compliance check. So here I'm going to schedule compliance check by reporting violated rules or compliant rules. And you can select the PDF or CSV for that particular report, associate the devices on which you want to run the schedule, and you can receive email notification when the schedule runs, and you can provide a schedule time here. It can be daily, hourly, weekly, or monthly, or once a time schedule. So there are various operations for which you can schedule. So here's one for PCI review, Okay, here's one for Configlets, where you can provide a vendor, select a configlet, type a mode of execution, and the kind of report you want to receive. Here you can provide the values, select device groups, or select individual devices if there are any, provide a schedule date, and click on save. So when you click on save at that particular date, your schedule will automatically run. Here you can see the status of the schedule, the number of schedules which are active, and the number which are not active. Under schedule audit, you'll be able to see if it has been completed or not, and the date of completion of that particular schedule. We have configuration search, which allows you to search for anything. Go to the inventory and click on this icon. And here you can search for anything. So I'm going to search for the word public, and here you can see where all this particular word appears. And by clicking on it, you'll be able to see exactly where that particular word is appearing. And this will be very useful if you want to troubleshoot quickly. We also have advanced search criteria where you can provide uh, more than one particular criteria. So here you can see that interface and SNMP public community is present here. So that's all about configuration search. So you can do a global search using NCM's configuration search. And we have exclude criteria, sorry. So exclude criteria is an interesting operation where you can exclude a certain activity from being considered as a change. For example, clock time may not be uh, a change necessarily, but if NCM sends you an alarm saying this has been that has been a change, then it's gonna like mislead you. So in that case, you can exclude certain conditions from being considered as a change. So click on settings and go to exclude criteria. Okay, I think they have changed a bit on the UI from last time. So yeah, so on a Configlet automation, you'll be able to see exclude criteria. So here yes, here's an example where you don't want clock time to be considered as a particular change. So in that case, you just have to provide the clock time, the device type on which you don't want this clock time to be considered as a change, and click on save. Then we have alarms which will help you keep notified. So in NCM, we have so many alarms. So go to the inventory and here you can see alarms on the top part of the screen and number of alarms that are active, the kind of alarm which rings. And here you can see uh, that there are 354 critical alarms and 3 need attention, 3 are in service down. So yeah, you can set up alarm for anything and they keep you notified on each and everything which happens in NCM. Show commands. So to go to show commands, click on settings and under device management, you'll be able to see show commands. So if you want to add a new command, just click on the give the command alias, command, choose the vendor and click on save. So by going to the inventory, you'll be able to execute the show command. So once you associate a show command, just click on the device and go to the device snapshot page. Click on actions, click on execute and give show command option. So once you already specify a particular show command, you can just go to the device snapshot page and get information for that particular uh, detail by giving show interface, show version. So this is very easy because you'll be able to gather information in seconds. Then we have a lot of configuration reports. So go to reports. So we have so many reports here, listed here. So I'll just show you a few reports. So here's a configuration change report. You can see the number of devices on which changes have been made and devices without configuration changes. How many are unauthorized, how many are authorized, mm, and if a backup operation has been performed or not. Then where there's EOLUS report, which shows the number of devices which are ending service. Here you can see the date and end of support date here. You can also sync it, and you can also like export it into the PDF format. So here are vulnerability reports. So here's critical, important, moderate, low, number of vulnerabilities. So along with the CV, you can see under this. So similarly, there are a lot of reports, and you can like export them into PDF format for a detailed uh, information. Then we have a dynamic and user-friendly UI in NCM. So you can change the type of columns you want here. And once you log out and log in from a different geographical location, whatever column change you've made will reflect automatically. We have dashboards. So it's like you can pin certain operations you're currently working on to the dashboard. Here you can see backups, running alarms, etc. So we have a network configuration manager. We can be integrated with op manager, which is our network performance monitoring solution. And then we can also integrate it with our traffic monitoring solution, NetFlow Analyzer. And that is the end of the session. So thanks for attending our today's training session.